Hey you all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Before we jump into this video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, okay? Our family is growing slowly but surely. Our family is growing. So welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, go check out my previous videos. We got some get ready with me. We have a vlog. We have like an Amazon favorite. And then we have a video where I'm just kind of, introducing myself. You get to know your girl or whatever. So go make sure you check out those videos. As you can tell by today's title, we are getting into this real estate exam. If you checked out my last video on the class, you are probably curious to know how the exam actually went, right? I'm assuming that's why you're here. So we're gonna get into it. Make sure you stay to the end of the video. I am going to share the two websites that I found to be the most helpful and I believed allowed me and helped me pass my Illinois real estate broker's exam. So if you're curious to know what those are, make sure you stay to the end of the video and don't be trying to fast forward to figure out what they are, okay? Number one, okay? I mentioned this in my last video, purchase the book. Go ahead and get the book. I am a visual person, so I need the material in front of me. I need to be able to like scribble down notes. The ebook, I used it, it was helpful, but I needed the book. You know what I'm saying? And if you're curious to know what that book was called and where I got the book, check out my last video. But the book was super helpful when having it prior to the class. So I got the book about a month before my class started. There are 24 units in the book, and if you're curious to know what is all in each chapter of the book, again, check out my last video. But I made sure that I tried to go over 1 unit a day prior to the class starting. Here is why it was so helpful. When the class actually began and the instructor was going over the book, this material wasn't new to me. I had already read and learned about a lot of the information that the instructor was already talking about. So this goes to the biggest point of, or the biggest tip rather, the biggest tip to passing your real estate exam is repetition. Continuously reading over the material, looking at the material, it allows it to stick a little bit better. So I found that getting the book at least a month or two before my class actually started and going over it and doing the practice exams in the book was extremely helpful and extremely beneficial to me ultimately passing my exam. Number 2, something I've already mentioned, go over the practice exam. Go over the practice exams, okay? They're there for a reason. Okay, the practice exams, there to test your knowledge on the unit or the chapter that you just read. Are the practice exam questions in the book similar to the actual questions on the exam? Yes and no. Yes, because the idea, the question that they're asking is very similar. It's just gonna be worded a little bit different on the actual exam, okay? So you still want to make sure you're doing those and doing them more than once. Again, repetition, it allows the information to stick a little bit better. So do each and every one of those practice exams. You'll find that when you're taking the actual exam, that it's not foreign to you when you see it, because you would have remembered, okay, wait a minute, I've kind of already seen this before. And it's okay if you don't do well on the practice exams. That's why they're practice exams. Okay, just try your best, do them over and over, and do them until you get 100%. That's what I did. I retook every single practice exam until if I did not want to earn less than 90% on all of my practice exams. And I would retake it and retake it and retake it until I did so. That would be my next tip. Number 3, go over each unit prior to the class starting. So unit 4, make sure you are reading unit 4 before class starts. Then when class ends, go over that same unit and take that unit's practice exam. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I cannot stress it enough. Now, I did mention in my last video that classes weren't ending till about 9. My particular class wasn't ending till about 9:15, 9:30. Yes, I was staying up and going over practice exams. I was staying up and going over that unit, skimming over that unit before I went to sleep, so that the next morning I could kind of skim over it and move on to the next unit so I'm prepared for the next class. Okay, so when class ends, I highly recommend, and this is what I did, I printed out practice exams. Whatever practice exams I could get my hands on, I was printing them out and I was taking them and I was printing out multiple copies so that if I didn't do so well on that one, I was doing it again until I did well on it, okay? Print out practice exams if you have the access to a printer. If you don't, use the practice exams in the book. If you don't get the book, use free practice exams online and keep doing them over and over and over until you pass them, until you get a passing score. Speaking of passing scores, you need at least a 70% to pass your real estate exam. So yes, ideally you're taking your practice exam. If you get at least a 70%, I guess you're good. Me personally, to be safe, right, to be sure, I was not trying to get anything lower than a 90% on every practice exam for every subject or every unit. That told me that I understood the material and that I was good when the actual exam rolled around. Now, some logistical things for preparing to take your real estate exam is making sure you schedule it out not too close, not too far away from when your course ends. My course ended December 6th. I scheduled my exam for December 20th. That was about 2 weeks. That was enough time for me. If you like, oh no, your class ends on Monday, you need to take the exam by Friday, then do that. I recommend having my instructor recommended not taking the exam more than 2 weeks out from finishing the class. That way that the material's still fresh in your mind, right? You're still kind of like thinking about things that will be on the exam. So that's what I did. And in those 2 weeks, I didn't play no games. I didn't play any games, guys. I didn't have time to play games. Fortunately, I had a job that was pretty flexible. So even when I was at work, I was studying every day, all day. I even took some PTO days to study all day for the midterm in my class. I was not playing. Now, when you schedule your exam, you do, at least in Illinois, there are multiple testing centers that you can schedule to take your exam at. I took mine at 12 p.m. in the afternoon. So that kind of gave me my morning to eat breakfast. I slept in. Some people recommend taking it first thing in the morning so that like when you went to sleep that night and you studied, the information is boom right there in your brain. I figured I could schedule mine a little later in the day, in the afternoon. Gave me time to kind of skim over my study materials prior to taking the exam. Okay, so if you've made it to this part of the video, come a little closer. Come a little closer. Let me tell you what I used that that I believe allowed me to pass my exam. The first one was Prep Agent. The second one was Exam Smart. Now, both are to a degree free and allow you to have study materials to help you pass your exam. But they do have options where you can pay. You get some more resources that help you to pass your exam. I opted to pay. I figured, look, this is an investment, okay? And I'm gonna make that money back. I'm gonna make that money back. When I start closing these deals, I'm gonna make that money back. So I was willing to pay about $50 for each website, each account that I had set up. Now, the difference between Prep Agent and Exam Smart. Prep Agent, I found Prep Agent to be more helpful in the sense to where Joe, prep agent, he broke down a lot of the information. For lack of better terms, he dumbed the information down. Dumbed it all the way down, broke it down so that it was easier to understand. I found that their audio lessons were very helpful. So when I was sitting in traffic, honey, or standing in the grocery store line or whatever, I was just playing those on specific topics or subjects that I was kind of struggling with or didn't really understand. That was very helpful. Exam Smart was very beneficial because their questions were very similar. Not the exact questions, but they were very similar, very identical to what the questions on the actual exam were. So both are very, very useful in two different ways. I found that using both was most helpful for me. Math. A lot of people are curious or maybe get intimidated about the math on the real estate exam. And let me tell you now, okay, math, I'm good at a lot of things. I'm good at a lot of things. Math is not one of them. So I needed a little bit more extra help on the math portion. And I found that Prep Agent was extremely helpful in the math because, I mean, like I said, he broke it down. I would say that there were about 7 to 10 math questions on my exam. One tip I will stress to those taking the Illinois real estate broker's exam on the math portion specifically is understand an amortization table. Amortization. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Focus on that. That is for sure going to be on your real estate exam. Outside of math, the next thing that I found there to be a lot of questions on my exam was agency. Agency is a big portion of the Illinois real estate broker's exam because it covers a lot of your duties as an agent to your clients. So agency is something to make sure you study as well. So the real estate exam is one big exam, but they are broken down into two separate exams: the national exam and the state exam. The national exam consists of about 105 questions. The state exam consisted of about 45 questions. You need to pass both in order to get your license. Me, I did pass my national exam on the first try. But that state exam, okay, 45 questions, you needed to earn at least a 30. I got a 29, so I did miss it by 1 point. But I was able to just retake just the state exam, which I did about a week after. And what was really helpful about getting the results back was that they told you where you kind of missed some questions on each section of the exam. So after leaving the testing center, I knew exactly what it was I need to study in order to pass my state exam the next try, which is what I did. Rescheduled it to take it again about a week later and passed it with flying colors. My last piece of advice when going to take your real estate exam: do not overstudy. Don't do it. It is counterintuitive to what it is that you're trying to do, right? You're trying to learn all this information. You're trying to retain all this information. You're trying to remember all of this information to pass this exam. If you do it too much, it's going to be information overload. You're going to get anxiety. It's going to almost be like you don't remember anything. One thing is going to, we hear one word, it'll be a definition for something else. It will make you think of something. It is counterintuitive and it is not helpful. Space it out. I did not do that. I didn't do it. I did not do that. And it did cause unnecessary angst and anxiety leading up to the exam. I should have my advice would be to set time each day while you're taking the class, after the class ends, before you take your exam. Set an hour for each unit and tell yourself you're only going to study for 3 hours that day. What I did was study from dusk to dawn. Okay, I was studying all day, which just built up unnecessary anxiety. So don't overstudy. Space it out, okay? You're gonna do fine. Alongside those tips and steps and everything to prepare for the real estate exam, I am a child of God, and I was not playing. I wrote daily affirmations. I wrote down, I am going to pass my real estate exam on the first try. I wrote that down so many times. I needed to read and know and understand those affirmations in order to kind of release some of the anxiety that I was experiencing. Another thing that I did, I fasted and I prayed. My friends would tell you, I fasted for about 2 months. Off of social media. There was no social media. I didn't want any distraction. I didn't want any distractions. The times that I would have spent sitting on my phone, scrolling or whatever, that was time I felt like I could have been studying. So that's what I did. I got rid of all social media until I passed my exam. So if that did mean I didn't pass it on the first try or the second try or the third try, I was not getting back on social media until I did. That I found to be extremely helpful for me because it got rid of a lot of like background noise and distractions. I didn't have time for that. And that's what I felt as though God was leading me to do. And I felt like that ultimately was super beneficial in me passing my exam, going in there and killing it. Okay, I went in there and I was not I was not playing, y'all. I really hope you all found this video to be helpful and informational. Okay, if there's anything that I left out and you have more questions about them, please drop them in the comments below. If you want another video, me explaining maybe some other things that you want to know about the exam or just about real estate in general, please drop those in the comments as well. I love you guys, all right? As always, plant those seeds that God has already given you, water them, and watch yourself blossom. It's bound to happen. All right, I love you all. I'm out. Peace.